Business is more than grinding to get it done. It's people, process, and payroll done right. It's protecting your team, leveraging every penny out of every dollar to build and grow. From HR to insurance, from strategy to scale. We give you the playbook so you don't have to figure it out the hard way. This is the PEO Playbook, hosted by Chad Philly with Staff Brokers Inc. Get valuable insights and learn to grow your team without HR headaches. Let's get started.
All right, welcome back to this episode of the PEO Playbook podcast here at PEOPlaybook.com. I am Chad Philly with Staff Brokers, here with CEO Staff Brokers Marty Gray. We're going to get into talking all things PEO and how they help employers with all the everyday headaches associated with employees and payroll, work comp, and human resources. Today, we're just going to kind of touch a little bit on when you hire a new hire, well, what should you be doing and how does that process work within, with the PEO? And they don't all work the same. So, kind of some of the options and how it may fit with any particular business.
Yeah, I was just thinking, Chad, my first job in the PEO industry was a sales rep. And I used to have to visit every client each week because I was literally the delivery guy who would bring them their payroll. And on those deliveries, we would be bringing them applications and doing enrollments for anybody that they hired that particular week.
I don't want to make an old joke so bad.
The industry's changed a lot, and the entry of paperless onboarding for employee applications and portals has it's come a long way, and it's painless, and it's literally the client or the employee's connection or portal to the PEO on day one. So they get access to the portal, they go in, and then everything that's needed and required for an employee application, name, address, social security number, all of that stuff is literally onboarded by the employee during the application process directly, along with what their deductions are going to be, so that along with their contact information, and then there's also in those portals the places where they can communicate directly to the HR department or directly communicate to the PEO if they have questions, rather than simply, calling and waiting. They can just email directly to to a contact person there at the PEO. All of their records are stored there. All of their payroll stubs are stored. All of their tax information, when it becomes available, it becomes available directly online so that they can go back. And the longer they stay there, the longer those records are there for the employee to constantly be able to get, rather than going back to their employer, with a phone call saying, "Hey, do you have this information for me?" It's just nicely filed and put away for the employee to always have access to.
And for the employer to have access to. So we're talking like they're gonna keep copies of W-4s, which, and this doesn't have to be done all electronically. There are still an option for manual forms. Some people not technically savvy. You don't have today's as good as technology has gotten. I think that's where the portal stuff going. That the number of people that don't just have a computer and a printer at their house, that if you email them, it's just as simple as printing something out and filling it out.
Right.
And that's where a lot of that has come to where, people are able to onboard through their phone, essentially. As long as they have an email address that they can tie it to, they can do that. But, sometimes, it does happen. You've got construction crews and stuff. And you were talking about how you used to have to go and deliver payroll every week and pick up applications and stuff. I do still have a client or two here and there that when they've got a new hire, they'll ask me to come over, and somebody here locally, I'll go over and fill it out and help them fill it out, make sure it's done right, and bring it all back here. But most people have gotten away from that, and a little some of the variance that's going on. There's been with, I don't know if it's due to all the changes with immigration rules and laws and what's happening and all that. For a long time, PEOs, for the most part, always kept the I-9, which is the employment verification form, on file. A lot of them are no longer keeping them on the client's behalf, but they are at least verifying, hey, you do know how to do this, do it correctly, and then advising them on how long it is that they need to hold on to them.
So let's talk about that a little bit. The hot topic of illegal immigration in the country, and there's what we talk about, and then there's what really happens. And quite honestly, there is millions and millions of illegals working in the workplace, and we see it. The PEOs see it. Our clients see it. I'm not saying they turn a blind eye. What happens, in my opinion, is the illegal alien is coming in, and they've got a social security number, they've got an address, they've got all of this information. This has been going on for years. They fill out their I-9 because you're not getting hired unless you fill out an I-9. So as an employer, I want to take that risk off of me and maybe put that risk on someone else. And this is literally what happens in the PEO world. They're filling out the I-9, maybe under your company, but they're being paid by the PEO. The PEO has its liabilities also. They're taking that I-9 and they're entering it into the federal system. And what we see, not always, sometimes they just stay on forever, right?
I would say, I mean, in 20 plus years, I can maybe name 3 times
Yes.
that
Somebody's been called out on it.
that there was a crisscross, or hey, two people are paying taxes to the same social security number.
Right.
And another huge benefit of the PEO, because one of those social security numbers might be right or wrong, is they know the process and advise the employer, okay, well, this just happened. Now what do I do? And they walk that employer through what they need to do to re-verify on employee that's in question.
Right. And in the illegal side of it, if they do get called out, they just simply go get another social security number. I mean, there's like a 7-Eleven out there for them somewhere. And they come back and they say, my name's changed, my address has changed, but please let me work here. And you know what? If they're a quality hard worker, they're going to get hired again.
Oh, absolutely. The employers don't care.
Right.
I mean,
they're looking for quality.
They want people that show up and work. Show up and work, and that's
right.
I mean, I hear it every single week just throughout. Hey, I'm hiring for this.
We're not going to solve the that issue, but we can certainly take some of that liability off by putting you in a PEO. And I'll tell you,
just making sure the process is right, because you're not, as the employer, when you're filling out the I-9 form, you're not. If you see the documents, you're not expected to be a document expert, and be able to verify and identify, are these fraudulent documents or not?
Right.
It looks like a social security card, looks like a resident alien card, driver's license, ID, whatever it is. You're just signing that this is what you saw in the hiring process. The PEO then, later on down the road, if there is an issue, that's when you come back and they go, okay, something's not adding up, and let's, we got to figure out what's what.
Right.
And they kind of walk you through the process.
The audience may not know, but we live in Ocala, Florida, and it's a horse capital of the world. And I got a good story. A client of mine, a world-renowned trainer. So he's got his farm, and he's paying people to come ride his horses on the regular. And it's a tough industry. So an accident occurs. This guy falls off the horse, can't work for a while. He's using a PEO. Claim comes in. The PEO immediately gets on the claim and starts paying him for his time missing. Well, the employee, right, takes him to court, sues him, basically says, you're not paying me what you're supposed to be paying me, right? And PEO's like, look, I'm the one paying you. I know exactly what
what
I'm
what you should
supposed to,
be getting. Yeah.
what you're supposed to be getting. So as it does, he gets an attorney, and this goes to court. And it turns out that the client was paying him an hourly rate, relatively low, close to minimum wage, and then a per ride rate under the table, right? So this is one of those things where this particular client of ours got a little upset, but he wasn't doing the right thing from the start. He was holding back from the PEO how much he was actually paying the employee. And this is one of those situations where the court situation basically ended up being like, ooh, you know what? Not only do you owe this employee money, you owe the PEO money for back work comp information. So, it never pays to do the wrong thing. The employee in that particular case did end up going back to work for him, even though it's just one of those examples. Once he was better, he went back to work for him and continued to get paid the rate. He's just argued with him about, how come you're not paying me what I used to make? And quite honestly, the employee was right. And that was what was proved in. Now, we don't have him as a client anymore because the PEO dropped him because he was not paying the full. They had an argument over what's 1099 income versus what's, and the client was completely wrong.
Just decided to walk away.
Decided to walk away.
But anyway, kind of the moral of the story with appropriate employee onboarding documentation, keeping things in order, you can protect yourself from and make sure that you're doing the right thing. And like I said, depending on your business, it can be really simple as, hey, fill out an application and go. Or you can get an onboarding checklist that can be something as big as this, where you've got all different kinds of things from, okay, W-4, I-9, code of conduct, employee handbook, sexual harassment policy, going through, assigning emails, have they done all their benefit stuff? When are they eligible for these? Like I said, it goes on and on depending on the complication level of the client. And just the online is just making it easier to keep it all tracked.
It saves everybody time. On a traditional in-house program, an employee wants to change their ACH from a checking account to a savings account, or they want to split it 50-50, their check coming in. Or they want to do it 3 or 4 different ways because they have an IRA they want to make a regular contribution to. These are all things that a small business would struggle with, but the portal is set up. And the portal is set up for the employee to have the freedom to do that stuff because we want them to be able to do with their money how they want it. And as long as they have it set up in the portal properly, the money magically goes to the 2 or 3 different accounts that the employee's asking for their check to go to, and then the register shows that.
Yep. And one of the things on this, some of the bigger PEOs, talk about this portal. A lot of times employers still want the employee to know that, they do work for the employer, not the PEO, so to speak, is these onboarding platforms and human resource information systems, so to speak, are customizable.
Yes.
And so when the employee logs in, it can be color coded and branded as if it almost looks like it belongs on, like that the employer created it themselves, when that's not necessarily the case.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Our owners, one of the things that they worry about when they join a PEO is that they're not really the employer. And there are so many examples of the things that the PEOs do, like setting up the portals. Even some of them can put the logo of the clients on the check.
Client logo on. Some will do client logo on the check
with
the PEO name. Yep,
the PEO name and address to it. And if you think about it, that's not too far different from what you see in the traditional paycheck world. I mean, ADP pays with it's not, you're not doing leasing with ADP, but ADP has their logo and information on the checks too. So the co-employment is just really there for the employer to have the advantages of the larger companies and savings of money. Savings of time. Time is the biggest one. Savings of time gives you more time to do what you need to do.
Absolutely. Time savings is the number one, but having the processes in place so that you can get yourself off on the right foot, get people, get started on the right foot is the biggest thing in employee documentation and all the paperwork. Like I said, can be very minimal to very complicated depending on the particular type of client. But the PEO is there to help make that as painless as possible. The employee access side of things is one of the biggest things that I see as far as the employee can change their direct deposit. They finally have decided that, they're going to buy a house and now they got to get a loan and they need to have pay stubs and all that kind of stuff. Somebody's typically always been tracking that down, and now it's right there at the employee's fingertips in their phone most of the time that they can go grab that and be done with it, and the employer keep on working.
We might as well say also that the employer portal is there also.
Yeah, you can communicate, send messages.
They go in, they have messages directly to their HR. They have messages directly to anybody that's, if any compliance issues show up or anything like that, the PEO is communicating to them through their portal, but they also have access to all of their employee data. Their forms, payroll reports can be pushed back and forth through the portal. Time tracking can be pushed back and forth through the portal. So all of the PEOs have it ever so slightly different, but the advancements in this level of communications between the PEO and the client is so much better than it's ever been, and it's actually getting better and better. It's constantly working on it.
I would agree. Well, I think that does it for this episode of the PEO Playbook. Thank you for joining us, and hope to catch you next time.
Thanks for tuning in to the PEO Playbook, where we help business owners unlock the power of PEOs and take their team to the next level. This episode was proudly brought to you by Legacy Sales Engineering. If you're ready to simplify HR, scale your business, and put the right team behind you, visit staffbroker.net to get started with Staff Brokers today.